you don't normally go back too much after you switch topics, right? So if I like want to close out the tab so that it looks less crazy. Okay.
Hello and welcome to episode 228 of the FReality Podcast. It would be rude of me not to acknowledge that the first half of 2023 is over. And today, it's Canada Day. Happy Canada Day, everybody!
Hey, happy Canada Day! I see Canadians and former Canadians and everyone is moving around crazy.
Those who may be applying for permanent residency soon. Yes, all of us. Well, to celebrate, I'm sitting in a pool of warm maple syrup, and we're ready to light up this newsroom once again. Here's what's coming at you today on the podcast. Press a button, make a game. Adult toys to pair with your Apple Vision Pro. What's a broken leg look like in VR? MTV's Celebrity Deathmatch returns by pitting a blubbery walrus versus a slithering reptilian alien. And finally, Jose is here with releases to bring you news of game sales, to resuscitate your wallet, and keep you in remission from having to cope with real-life trauma. Fête de Dominion in French is Canada Day. It's actually a federal statutory holiday, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. It celebrates the anniversary of Canadian Confederation, which occurred quite a long time ago, actually, on July 1st, 1867. And the coolest thing that happened there, I didn't know this before today, it was the passing of the British North American Act, when the three separate colonies got fused together to form Canada by the British Empire, right? And the three were Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and United Canadas. We could have been United Canadas up here, right? It could have been the United States and United Canadas. How about that?
Cute.
Yeah, I thought I'd share that little kernel with everyone at the start of today's show. With that as well, recently, after some uprising in France, the French president has blamed riots on the intoxicated youth who have been poisoned by video games. So with that, I think that's an appropriate segue to zipline us into an intro with the intoxicated youth we call the FReality crew. Up late at night, this horny horticulturalist can be found browsing planthub.com and stroking his long, bristly beard while musing at musing about large language models. Aside from being a plant purist, he is known for his addictions to gaming classics such as Age of Empires, the VR FPS Pavlov, and most recently doing the dirty deed with El Diablo. Grab your oars and row your boat to Canadian freedom, kids. It's Mr. Rowdy. Hey, Rowdy.
I was surprised. I thought it was going to be Jose, but no, okay. No, this was maybe to the letter me. Yeah, indeed. Great description. That's me in a nutshell. I've been as some of you might notice, I've been traveling a little bit. Currently in a hotel room, so it's been quite the eventful week since I unfortunately lost my laptop. I had to share this a bit earlier that it kind of died. Apparently, it didn't survive the careful packing that I did roughly a week ago. Wasn't a great idea, but that does mean that even worse, I have now been forced to join the infamous cult, the walled garden, the Garden of Eden, and I bit into the apple, which means that I'm now officially an owner of an Apple product, which I'm not too pleased about. Well, no, that's not true. I'm very pleased about my purchase. It's a great laptop. I own now a MacBook Pro. My main reason for buying this was just because it's such a common thing in my work field. And I recently was at an event, and there were like people sharing stuff, and they were like, "Oh, let me just airdrop it to you." And I was like, dude, no, I use a Linux. There's no such thing as like airdropping something to me. Send it to me in an email. And the thing is that in my field, like at least it seems like it, but like 85% of people have an iPhone, have a MacBook, and everything is so integrated into that. And that's something that Apple has done really well. It's hard to say that well is, but like keep everyone out of that garden and make it very nice inside of that garden, which I think is admirable from a business perspective, but from a consumer perspective, of course, it's a little bit.
It's a lovely cult.
Difficult.
It really is.
It's a great cult. And I have to say,
They have free t-shirts.
It's really fun to be in there. Like it's everything is more expensive, but everything works really well. So yeah, that is my experience with.
I can't believe it.
My first, well, I mean, it's not my first MacBook because I had one for work, like roughly, I think 6-7 years ago, but it has improved a lot since then. So yeah.
I know you mentioned this, like, I think it was the last podcast we were talking about Vision Pro and stuff, but did you get one of the new devices? Like, I know they launched a new size laptop.
Yeah.
Did you go for that one?
Yeah, well, again, like the way that Apple works is they work with tier systems, right? So it's every time it's like you spend a little.
This guy
it's a lot of tiers when I'm spending that money. Yeah, it's every time you have your base model, and then you spend $200 more, and you get like this upgrade. You spend $200 more on that, and you get that upgrade.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I wanted a laptop that was portable, had a long battery life, and I have to say that's probably the thing that I'm surprised about the most is just the battery life of this thing. And originally I said I want a laptop that is as mobile as possible, lightweight, and I can just use and then log into my workstation at home and just use it like that. Of course, what I didn't count on was my workstation, not being available at the moment because I'm traveling, and I didn't leave it on for the entire period. Which makes everything a little bit more complicated. And I wanted to just work off the fairly beastly laptop that I had with the RTX, the NVIDIA card. So originally I wanted to get the 15-inch MacBook Air because I think it's an ideal form factor. It's a fairly big screen, it's comfortable to work on, very lightweight. But since I kind of need a little bit more power, a little bit more RAM, a little bit more speed, considering the work that I do, I eventually went for the 14-inch MacBook Pro, which I have to say it's really small. I'm surprised by the size of it, and that the screen is still a 14-inch. And I'm actually very pleased with it. Like it's a great laptop. I can go an entire day with it without charging it, doing all of my work pretty much.
That's nuts.
Which is crazy. Coming from a a laptop. Of course, again, it's different because it's an NVIDIA card that is in there, which just soaks up power. And this is just the M2 silicon processor, which is, again, very, very good. Everything on this laptop feels high quality, for sure. So it's fast.
Breaking my heart. Breaking my heart. We had a
Yeah,
purist Android-only club
That's the
going.
problem, right? Because once you own one product, you can't say like, okay, and now I'm gonna stick with my Android phone, or I'm gonna stick with, because eventually, I'm not thinking about. I don't want to jinx it now again because I was raving about the products like 2 weeks ago. And my laptop broke. my wife has been saying, and I've been manifesting it. Like I threw my laptop. I probably getting a visit from the tax office one day to see like if I didn't break the laptop on purpose. But I'm very pleased still with my phone. I don't want it to break at this point. But
He's saying it so it happens.
Oh no.
He's saying it so it
I
happens.
I don't want it to happen. But yeah, once you own one Apple product, it makes so much more sense to own the next Apple product as well. And eventually you're completely sucked into that system, living happily ever after in that beautiful garden. Spending tons of money on the newest gadgets.
I'm worried though. Things on this podcast tend to spread like wildfire. Like you're the first little Indian who just, gone. And who's going to be next? Probably Jose, right? Like probably he's going to melt into.
I actually am deep into the Apple ecosystem. I'm not going to lie to you. I do both. I definitely do like the 14 and the Apple Watch. So
get out.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've been in.
Yeah.
That was one of the first questions when Jose and I were first, going to replace Mike and Nathan. He was like, okay, what kind of phones do you use? That was like one of the first questions. Show us your phones.
I think it was me who was asking
I
that.
don't remember who it was.
We
It was
were supposed to
someone.
not tell him the truth at that time.
But the thing is,
It's important. It's important. Do you have a microphone? What type of phone do you use? These are important vetting questions when you go through the interview. So,
but the thing is, in Europe, like it's so common to have an Android device. But I do feel like since I've been in Northern America, I mean, just everyone has iPhone, everyone has Apple products. Yeah.
I'm just so glad to be free of it, to be honest. Having I've been through that. Like I had the watch, I had the iPad, I had the phone. Like
me too, by the way.
I know.
This is my second face.
To divest yourself from that completely feels great. You don't feel like something owns you. I still just got an email today. They're like, your iCloud is full. I'm like, I don't fucking care. Just back off. Like I'm done with you until next year. And then I'm going to start regretting it, I'm sure. So yeah, you're going to get to watch the little counter. We're going to have a counter on the wall, right? So I guess you're still in that camp. So we're back to 2 and 2 then. And am I slowly holding out the Android camp?
Hey, I still for at least hopefully 2 weeks.
Then you're like, I might as well
let's
get
see
an
how long that
iPhone
takes.
since this phone's broken now. It's the Apple curse. All of your Android Windows products suddenly mysteriously get broken.
There should be a service you can subscribe to for that. Anyway, all right, next up. The swimming test. This podcast is purely educational this time. The swimming test. Did you know that back in the 16th and 17th century, possible witches like Adam Bombardi were dragged to the nearest body of water, stripped to their undergarments, bound and tossed into sea if they would sink or float. Yes, it was thought that the water would reject their witch body and prevent them from submerging. According to this logic, an innocent person, like me, would sink like a stone, whereas a witch, like Adam, would bob to the surface. So it wasn't unusual for accidental drowning deaths to occur during the swimming test. I just find history to be so fascinating. Anyway, Adam, how are you?
How do you respond after that? I'm
This
alive?
question is basically, what kind of phone do you own and do you float?
Do you float?
Will be proven very quickly that I am not a witch because I'm actually not a strong swimmer. So I just be like, help! it's not working, please. But let me think. On the VR side, mostly just haven't been playing too many games, but I have been participating in a fitness challenge lately. It's a 5-week fitness challenge in VR workout, which is an interesting fitness game. This one uses not only hand markers but also head targets, so it allows you
What's
to.
it called?
VR workout. It's just VR workout.
It's just called VR
Yeah,
workout. Oh, right.
And So what's interesting about this one is it allows you to do sort of more push-up positions, burpees, because what it does is it'll rotate between maybe like squats, standing, and push-ups. So it'll be like push-up position. It'll give you like a couple seconds to get down in push-up position, and you'll get a head marker that's lower. So what you have to do is your head has to hit that head marker, and that's how it knows you're actually kind of in the push-up position. And for burpees, same thing. Like, so it's like down, you got your head marker has to touch that triangle, and then it gives you a couple seconds to stand, and then the next head marker is up, where you have the only way to touch it is if you were to jump, basically, because it's determined by your height and
I gotta ask. What? I know now what a Christmas special is. What the hell is a burpee? What is
a burpee is when you do a push-up and then you do a jump immediately after. So you do push-up and then a jump with your arms up.
Zim has clearly never been to a workout gym.
Yeah. What was he didn't know last time? First it was something else. Now it's burpees. I was pretty sure burpees were pretty common.
Like, I know what burpees are.
Military does them all the time, but they're also good. Like,
I know what it is, but I never knew the name.
Oh,
so.
okay.
Yeah,
sure.
Of course you did. Yeah.
but yeah, so they have push-ups, burpees, just like running in place. Standing exercises where you just kind of move your hands around or you kind of move in the space. And it combines VR with pass-through. So you can basically see the VR environment, but there's like a circle on the floor around you, so you can make sure you're not going to be stepping on stuff, because it takes up a decent amount of space if you're going to be doing, jumping and burpees and whatnot. So anyway, it's interesting.
How is that with that headset? Like, are you using Index then for this?
No, I'm using the Quest 2.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And no cable or
no cable? No, not with jumping or burpees or.
Well, that's why I was curious, because it sounds like something where you could really, get yourself tied up, or even the weight of the headset is kind of a lot. So, you using an Elite strap with that then while you're doing?
I mean, not the brand name Elite strap, but yeah, like a charger strap. A more not the cloth strap. I probably wouldn't recommend it for that. Even doing normal stuff, that thing would just slip off my head like nothing. But
wow. And you haven't questioned your existence or anything at this point? Because 5 weeks of this sounds like a lot.
I did finally take, so we're in about a week and a couple days, and I did take yesterday off because I was like, I've been doing it every single day. And I think I'm like,
wow.
I haven't been keeping track of the weekly leaderboards, because it's by the end of the 5 weeks that number one gets a Quest Pro. So I'm like, I only care about the total leaderboard. I think currently I'm in like third place, and I'm like, okay, I still have like 4 weeks out of 11, 10 or 11 or something like that, I think.
So not to
Zim
encourage,
is like crying sweat.
Not to encourage cheating here, but what prevents you from just charging your headset and passing it to somebody else, or a whole room of army dudes who just burp away?
Luckily it's controlled to a group of content creators. So I feel like if there was one who was cheating, we're gonna get on their ass about it. So it's not like not randoms exactly, but just content creators.
You're just so lucky that we're not in there.
Yeah, I fucking cheat the hell out of that thing. I'm kidding. But no, I do think that 5 weeks of that is a lot. So hey, by the end of it, you'll be able to join the army or something.
I guess. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, God. And that's your highlight for this week? Jesus.
Yeah.
Really?
I also want to apologize in advance, because since Rowdy's out, I'm the one that's sort of doing the broadcasty stuff, and it's scary. So things might mess up.
You're doing fine.
We're only like half an hour in, so hold on. It's still time.
Chad is saying, by the way, burpees on the wheel of misfortune. So,
yes.
No. Oh, shoot.
Happening.
Yes. Oh, no. It probably will happen.
I'm surprised you hadn't heard of them. That's a perfect punishment.
Makes sense.
Unfortunately. Yeah, we're going to steer away from the wheel of misfortune. That's not what this is about. But yeah, no, it definitely takes witchcraft to do all the things that Adam has been doing recently. Thumbnails, socials, shorts, and running this fine episode. So thank you, Adam, for being at the helm. While Rowdy is running around and looking at a beautiful vista behind him. For those of you in the audio podcast, it looks like Hawaii behind him. Right. So if witch hunters struggled to find obvious evidence of witch marks on a suspect's body, you can see I was on a funny website today, they might resort to the ghastly practice of pricking as a means to suss out the witchdom. Apparently, witch hunting books and instructional pamphlets which apparently were a thing back then, noted that the marks were insensitive to pain and couldn't bleed. So examiners used specially designed needles to repeatedly stab and prick at the accused person's flesh until they discovered a spot which would produce the desired results. In other words, no bleeding or whatever. So I must ask, with all of that behind us, Jose, what were your whereabouts on the night of June 27th? And with that, Adam, I ask you to pull up Exhibit A. Exhibit A. From Twitter.
Interesting.
You remember this?
No, I want to know.
You remember this?
I saw this.
Jose said in a tweet on June 27th, I accidentally leaned into a cactus during a phone call, and now my right forearm is covered with miniature needles. Lol. It doesn't even hurt.
Whoa.
Aha! Not just one, we have two witches in our midst.
Yeah, I mean, that's enough proof for me.
Yeah, you got me, man. Honestly, if that's definitely a claim, then I am 100% witch. Yeah, I really don't know the turn of events. I've been hustling this last week. I don't know the people that live on two coasts in the U.S. I don't know how they do it, but last week I went from the east to the west, and then back to the east, back to the west. In a span of 5 days, I went to the Bull Expo in Orlando, did some networking over there, and then back here in California, we finished up in arcade. So I kind of been just all over the place mentally, and just crazy logistics, that to the point that I was having a very big phone call, and it was like an hour and 45-minute call. And the entire time, I was just elated because of the news, just getting all these updates. Like, Jose, we finished the arcade, and this is happening. To the point that I realized that I was leaning onto a cactus that we have in the backyard. And my entire right arm was just covered in just needles, just miniature needles. And, fortunately, I was able to, take off the larger ones. But the tiniest ones, there was nothing I could do. So I was trying to be creative, like grabbing like duct tape and just making amateur wax, just trying to rip them
wax
off.
strips to try and get them out. Even the teeny tiny baby needles, and they're just in there, right?
They're in there. Yeah, I still have a few of them, and it's just really itchy, but it is what it is, man. I'm happier than the pain, so I guess there's something there. Maybe that's the key to being a witch.
Safe to leave those in there like that? Or, I mean, what do you do?
Yeah, just little. I found out, I guess, the body eventually will just push them out because they're so tiny. Okay. So I'm just
or a new cactus will start growing.
or a cactus.
That sounds like a cool sci-fi film. Yeah. I want to see that sci-fi horror film where cacti impregnate your arm and then an army of cacti come out of your arm. But no, it's nature's acupuncturist, right?
Yes.
So
yeah,
I imagined a teeny tiny little cactus, not like a proper size. Out the back, Jay's leaning into a cactus. But
one of my coworkers said that I'm gonna end up becoming the lamest Wolverine variant, which is just have little tiny claws in my arms. So I've been hopefully looking forward to that. So.
Well, your pictures, your cactus man, your pictures and your excitement from the new arcade launching has been really cool. I saw one where it was how do I describe it? It's like Pong with wall climbing.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I saw that.
Yes.
In an augmented experience type of thing. It looked really neat. So two players being able to do wall climbing. Kind of Simon Says you have to climb where it tells you to climb, and at the same time you've got a ball bouncing back and forth. So that would have been my pick of the litter.
Yeah, the arcade's called the Broken Controller VR Experience. It's in Fresno, California. We just actually soft launching this week. Coming up, so they're ready to hit the ground running. We have omnidirectional treadmills. A lot of people kind of picked up the inspiration, which is the Ready Player One LOI board, which is exactly what they were envisioning. We have the augmented reality rock wall that you mentioned by Motion, which has multiple games. They actually have a Pong variant. They have a Alien Space Invaders kind of one where you have all these aliens you have to climb up and hit the rockets as they fly up. It's a lot of cool stuff that they have in the works over there. We're very proud of it. And I'll have definitely more details, probably next podcast of a grand opening event. That way we're going to have a lot of content creators and definitely show the world real next gen VR looks like, right? Because we talk about that in podcasts all the time, and it's always overseas. So definitely bringing them into the US is a really, really big goal for mine and my team.
Yeah.
So
it looks really cool. It looks really cool. Looks like a massive space that you've got as well. So
yeah.
look forward to see more shots and video and stuff from you on that. Well, congratulations. Does that count as your highlight of the weekend? I mean, you bouncing back and forth between coasts is enough to
I think
cut
the
your soul
spikes
out.
were
Jeez.
my spikes were the highlight, honestly. Like the fact that I'm cactus proof is it's definitely something I'm gonna push up to the top of my resume rather than arcade building. So.
Kind of like a personal barrier. If someone gets too close to you, then that means they're gonna get poked.
Yeah.
That means you're too close.
There we go.
That's like what I remember learning what toothpicks were originally for. Like it was for like maidens or whatever who didn't want dudes like assaulting them, so they would put them in their teeth as spikes out. So if someone tries to kiss you, like they'd get wooden spiked things. That's what toothpicks originated as. I was like, damn, that's both aggressive and I'm glad our times have moved on since then. You know?
That's a very interesting way to.
Maybe cactuses something they should have done. You know, skin some cactuses and wear it as armor. That'd be great. Anyway, very good. Well, chat, you guys have been busy as well. I've seen a bunch of people. Jose the Cactur, Jose's superhero origin story has been exposed here. Crash was saying that's it. Put the witch in a barrel and roll him down a big hill. If he lives, he's a witch. If he dies, he's not.
So we have Adam Witch, Jose Cactus Man, me Apple Guy, and what are you now, Zim?
The burpees man.
No, he's the
worst superhero ever.
The
burpees
super
man
Canadian.
What
was
burpees.
it? Aggressively Canadian guy. Aggressive Canadian. Not aggressive Canadian. Aggressively Canadian.
Well, if you're going to be aggressively Canadian, you better bloody do it on Canada Day, right? So, very good. Well, chat, glad to have you here. Thanks for joining us for the show. Just getting into it now. My name's Zim, and I am the one who talks too much on this podcast. And my highlight, seeing as I'm surrounded by very weird people, is I might as well share with you a very weird game. I'll do two. The first one is called The Utility Room, which I played completely in monochrome. It's all in black and white. And it was on the Rift store, and we were just kind of, myself and the audience were like taking a dip in as we do on occasion. And we're like, all right, what kind of weird looking indie games can we get into? So this game is bananas. If you like David Lynch films and you enjoy VR games that are quite experiential in nature, then at only $8 on Steam, you get 2 hours of completely nutty, no hand-holding, experiential gameplay. The dev cautions, and I completely agree, this is a game not for those suffering megalophobia, which is the anxiety disorder in which case a person experiences intense fear from large objects. The scale in this game is dramatic, planetary size scale. It's really cool. You get dwarfed all over the place. It is primarily a conceptual game. Think of it as a piece of art, right, that you kind of experience. But there are some gameplay elements. You are hunted in certain parts of the game, so that's really kind of interesting. But it's very much kind of a journey, and it's across this barren, rocky, dangerous world. And you're dwarfed as you scale across it. And it's just it's like a story with no words, with no HUD, nothing, right? And they have a really cool movement mechanic where you charge up, you charge up a leap, and then you throw your arms down and you launch forward. And it's done in such a way that you really feel in control, in the same way that I'm going to equate it to kind of how Gorilla Tag, when you first started moving around in Gorilla Tag, you kind of felt empowered by that. It's a different movement mechanic, but it feels, like you've got a superpower. And so that combined with this kind of art house powerhouse, it's just it was really cool. So if you're looking for something like that, it is on the Rift store. It's on Steam, as I said, for kind of $8. So that's about, I don't know, £5 or something. And that's The Utility Room, which is apparently the room at the edge of the universe. But you'll be slack-jawed at certain parts in that if you decide to take part. So that was the one that I wanted to highlight and kind of put on a pedestal and say that was really cool, but feckin' weird. So watch out, right? Don't jump into that if you're not in for some weird stuff. The other one, if you just want to blow off some steam, Jose recommended this on the podcast a little while back. Break Stuff VR on PSVR2. So maybe you don't wear wrist straps like me, but I put it to the test anyway with no wrist straps. And Break Stuff VR is really neat. You have a scene And you get to go to town breaking things, but you have to. It's not like just break stuff. I thought it was going to be this aimless, god-awful looking, just terrible game, and I thought I wouldn't like it. I loved it because you have to destroy everything in the scene to a timer, and kind of like in a trial basis when you're like racing or something and you get extra time. Every time you break something, you get a little bit added to the clock. And then you have these items in front of you that spawn. So you can get like small things like an apple or a brick or just various bits and pieces. And as you level up, you buy more arsenal. So the more stuff you're breaking, the more stuff you're smacking. And the highlight for me was when I got to a stage, having beaten a couple of levels, where I started to throw, bricks and stuff like that and watermelons and pumpkins at cars. And you see the frame of the car breaking. You're smashing through the windows. Yes. You're breaking pieces of the car off. Do you guys remember in the Street Fighter days where you had that level where both characters are there and you're like kicking the ass off the car and it's breaking it apart? It's that in VR. It fucking is so much fun. Like I looked at the game and I was like, the graphics are terrible. I'm not going to enjoy this. I'll be in this 5 minutes and then I'll peace out. I spent like an hour and a half just smashing stuff up. It was so cool. So
I have to ask though, does it have Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit like constantly playing in the background? Otherwise, I'm disappointed.
That was such a good track, man.
Yeah.
We have to all remember that from our teen years, or Jose when he was 5 years old. Do you even know who Limp Bizkit is, man? All right. Of course. All right.
He's a rap super legend.
Yeah. So anyway, throwing stuff at cute animals is also another plus in that game. That's Break Stuff VR on PSVR2. So that's enough of the strange and the ridiculous. Let's move on to our newsreel for the week. We got a nice cross-section of topics here for you today, touching in kind of all the different categories, all the big players. Let's start off with AI and local large language models. Local large language models. A dev friend of mine highlighted in a tweet last week that there's now a make game button. I mean, we've mused about this up until this point, but now so have Unity with Unity Muse. So Unity Muse is a new piece of Unity, and again, being one of the bigger game engines out there, this is really exciting. The capability to chat to and help build things such as character animations, help texture parts of your level, all this kind of stuff. And it's just opening for beta application. If you are a budding developer or you just want to have a go at some of these tools, maybe like Rowdy, you spend a third of your life just, watching the trends of AI and LLMs and really want to, put your trial to the test. Maybe you never touched code in your life. Now's the time. Get to know Unity. Go build a game. Build a VR game and let us play it. But yeah, that's a pretty snazzy, cool feature. Anything else from the world of AI or LLMs that you want to spike into the podcast there, Rowdy?
No, not particularly. I think this is cool. I think it's a useful tool. But I think the idea of like not knowing anything from code and like, using this in order to build something is still, I think, a little bit further away in the way that Definitely. You probably want someone who understands. Like, it's useful in order to like, when you know what you're building, to do something faster. But if you have no idea what the code is doing, it's just like a recipe for disaster downstream, I think.
Maybe a recipe for frustration, because I think at the moment it's like, oh, I know how to make a brick. I want to make a brick faster, like you said. Like if you're going to build a wall, if you've never built a wall before, you don't know the components to it. Like they feature it in their little trailer. They're like, how do I make a game? And it says, here's the 4 steps to making a game. And it's like, that's how easy it is. Just 4 steps.
Yeah.
Well, there's
but it's coming.
Skyrim, that's what they're doing.
there's that like Agent GPT that supposedly you tell it what you want to make and then it kind of does it. But it doesn't, as someone who has absolutely zero coding experience, I didn't know what to do with the information that it gave me. I'm like, cool, okay, supposedly here's a thing that I could make, but now what? You still need some experience. I feel like Rowdy's absolutely right. Like I was like, okay, neat.
It's like a useful tool. It will make, if you know what you're doing, it will make your life easier and you'll be able to do it faster. But if you don't know what you're doing, it's still going to be really complicated, I think, to implement all these things.
But it's still coming. It's coming. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I really
I
loved
mean,
growing up various like game makers that you could like, they're very much, it's like bumper bowling. Like it's very much on rails. You're limited in the scope of what you can do. But even things like back in the day with original StarCraft, we used to do use map settings, games. We'd create something and you'd have set pieces that you'd combine, and you still felt like, you had some ownership to that.
It creates
You still
foundational
made something.
skills. It really does. I'm really glad you said that, because most of the people don't realize that most people that make really big games are usually modifications of other engines and other games. We talk about, the source, the Steam engine all the time, and that engine has built so many games, including some VR ones that don't even have any association with Valve now. And I think I think we're going to see AI being an amplification tool rather than a teaching tool, because it's kind of highlighting how foundational skills are going to be required, which kind of positions education in a weird way now, because it's like, oh, learn the basics, you have to know what you're doing, and then AI kind of takes you to the next level. You can't get to the AI without having the foundational skill.
Yeah,
It's very interesting.
It's kind of like the way that like coding in general has been evolving, right? It used to be very low level. You have to basically write to a computer to give it instructions. But like, we've gone more and more to like high level, where like high level code then gives instructions to low level code in order to implement things, which are things that are for us are more interpretable. Like ultimately, if you look at Python, which is probably the most popular coding language in the world right now, it's a very high level kind of code. Like it's like, for example, if you want to do a print statement, you just write print, and you open and there, done. But of course that sends like a command to lower level codes, and a lot of the deep learning ones are frameworks as well that work on a C++ level, but you don't interact directly with C++. You interact with like the framework, you give it instructions, and AI will probably take that even a level higher, but you will still have those foundational concepts of, for example, object-oriented programming, where you have different classes and you have different functions, and those need to like work together. But making those functions and making those classes, that is probably something that AI is going to be able to do faster and better.
Yeah.
That you can say like, okay, I want a class object of a specific, I don't know, a store which has an inventory list. This and this and that needs to be in there, and you can specify all that, and then AI will build that class for you. But then of course you need to implement it into a program. You need to implement it into your functions, and that's where AI can help. But like you still need to kind of know what you're doing with these kind of things in order for them to be useful, I think.
It's interesting because from a game design perspective, I feel like we're going to get to the point where, almost like the movie Inception, and you've got the kind of multi-tiered effect where you're backed off from what's actually happening on the lower level. I remember going through that when it was like, okay, how does a computer work, right? And learning about the electronics at the lower level, like how a diode's made up or a memory register, and all, how the switching works at that level. And I still, after like 4 years of boot camp for the mind, I still find it difficult to piece together what feels like an alive, interoperable computing machine and the lower level electronics that it's supported on. And I feel like we're going that way now with a lot of these creative elements, thanks to AI.
Yeah.
So
it's cool.
Yeah, just another vision to the future. It's just I love these little tidbits, because it's like, okay, it's coming, and you just see it taking its little baby steps. But when someone like Unity comes in, that's a big deal. All right. I don't think Unreal has something like this just yet, but they've got the sexier platform.
But they're all using it. Like, I mean, I think every large platform is using AI. Maybe they haven't released everything that they're working on, but like, you don't want to be left behind, right?
Yeah, well, we've seen Adobe, Microsoft, now Unity, Google. Yeah, I just signed up for that.
Like
Unreal Engine is kind of focusing a lot more, like their AI fronts are a lot in spatial. They're focusing a lot on like digital green screen like technologies that like off the fly, like they're partnering with Blackmagic. Funny enough, like they actually, Unreal made an announcement yesterday with Blackmagic. They announced like these new server capture, like giant commercial capture cards that essentially are the same technology that you usually see like in news stations, that you have digital spaces and you can move, and they integrate with like HTC's Mars spatial cameras, and they're like less than $5,000. So now you're talking about like news station productions at like less than
Wow.
$10,000. Yeah.
Sorry, 5,000 for, okay, because the Mars system allows you to do like virtualized backgrounds.
Correct.
It's quite sexy technology.
So that
but
allows
for
you-
$5,000, that's incredibly cheap for
Yeah.
that type of setup.
It's
Yeah.
it's insane, and we're gonna start seeing like Avatar level productions, and all of that stuff really is AI. Like I was actually looking at the technology, and they were showing how usually like hair for the top of your head when you behind the green screen, there's little blurs, and these AI systems actually are able to like see these little hairs, and they remove the graininess and. We're talking like under $10,000, so it's really cool stuff at 4K and
high production value, right? So next podcast, Adam's going to sort us out, and we'll.
There you go.
Jesus.
But that's all
Unreal is doing a lot of like character development as well with AI. I think like
Yes.
like their trees and like their environments and the characters. Like they're doing a lot of stuff around that.
Which goes to show what we're talking about. Their school of thought differences, right? Where Unity's kind of like, hey, you know, one button creates everything, and Unreal really is setting up the language of saying, hey, you still need foundational skills. The AI we're focusing on, you know, narrative scripting and all of those tweaks, quality of life stuff. They're not really giving you a button to create a game.
All right. Well, good. Well, so that's us, you know, dreaming about the future really, and seeing what's kind of on. Last podcast, we spoke a little bit about the future with Apple's new Apple Vision Pro. Well, why not bling up your Vision Pro with a fancy new colorful head strap or facial interface? Third-party companies such as Casetify. Sounds like Casketify. That's a totally different business. Casetify are readying their arsenal for the new headset from Apple, including a neck strap. I don't know why you would need colorful neck straps. The thing has got a strap. It would just sit around your neck. Like it's not. You're not gonna hang it off your, like some bifocals or something. And then I don't know. It's got this like bumper barrier around the glass part. Like I can understand if someone wants to store it in a case or whatever, but these are kind of cool images. I like they got a whole bunch of rainbow colors for the back strap, certainly lightening up the otherwise quite dark looking, the kind of dark look of the head strap or the interface at the front. What do you guys think? Are any of these enticing to you, Rowdy, Mr. Apple apologist? Is this what you want?
I think they look ugly, personally. Not a big fan of them. Yeah, I mean, again, like what are the bumpers for? Is it for if you run into a wall? Because I would be more scared about the front, right, than the
I think
the
it's
edges.
sitting it down so it doesn't scuff. But like when I look at that, the Johnny Ive in me cries loudly, because take a beautiful product. I say this about my own like One Touch, right? And you surround it in a big fat case, right? And it's like the sleek front and back glass is all just a big fucking plastic brick now. And it's the same thing they did to this. They're just making it chunky. They're putting chains on it. Like, what the hell, right? An engineer looks at that and goes, "What have you done to my baby?"
It's disrespectful, honestly. I would be really upset.
I mean, besides the weird bumper and the like old school glasses looking strap thing, I like the colors. Maybe not so much the some of the patterns are a little too floral for my taste, but I'm a sucker for, you know, custom color stuff. So I'm like, yeah, if they had more straps that had different color options, and the almost like the eye gasket, I think too, it's got like some kind of color on it or whatever. I'm all for that. Those parts are fine, but I don't know what's going on with the rest of
those
it.
ones worry me the
Banana
most.
mango. Give it to me.
Yeah. What I'm curious about to see if it's officially like endorsed by Apple, because the front guard really worries me, because that's where the cameras are, and I worry that maybe just even like a small layer of plastic might throw off their calibration, because that, even if it's very microscopic, it will create a shadow that we're not, not optical, but enough to mess up with the tracking in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and a lot of these companies, they don't think about it. Like I looked at, Jose's wrist as we were starting the show off, and it reminded me of the fact that when I got an Apple Watch, I was like, I'm not paying your stupid prices, 60 quid for a piece of plastic I put around my wrist. So I bought a third-party product, and I put my Apple Watch on it. And then guess what? Midweek, the thing fell apart on me because it was one of those like little multi-metal bands,
no,
like a gentleman's strap. And I didn't want to pay whatever. They were charging something ridiculous for their one. And so I was like, oh, I'll just grab one off Amazon. And the problem is there's such a difference. Like Apple knows how to make really nice, like robust products that have been well tested. And yes, they're going to be a nosebleed expensive, but at least you can trust them, right? You can rely on them. And I am definitely worried. I see those like flimsy little triangle neckband holders for your $3,500 device, and it's just going to break. It's just going to break, and you're going to be heartbroken. So, like, there are manufacturers out there who make great companions for this kind of stuff, but 90% of them are cheap feckin' knockoff brands who just want to jump to the market, grab your money, and give you a coloredy banana color.
I mean, just look at Quest accessories on Amazon, and you'll come up with like 500 different brands that are all kind of the same, but just different logos.
Exactly.
And it goes to show like they don't realize like these engineers did the research. Like, do you don't think that if they could have made a better strap, they would have released that one instead? It's like there's a reason of the ergonomics. So,
well, I mean, I don't 100% agree because I mean, I wouldn't say that all third-party products are not up to the standard that Apple can deliver, because of course it's like a cost benefit as well. Like, because I know, for example, for the chargers for the Apple MacBooks, I know Angular, for example, has really great chargers for that specific purpose, which are maybe a higher wattage, so you can charge your laptop faster. Of course, Apple is sticking to their products. But if you want something else, there are good third-party products out there. I just have no idea if this is one of them. Yeah.
I'd like to see somebody actually do the Bobo style for Quest 2 that has the battery on the back. I would love to see somebody
honestly,
put it all in one unit with the shorter cable, and see what happens.
Yeah, but that's what kind of pissed me off when I saw the design, because have you seen, it's not like a modular interface on the thing. It's actually fused. The cable is fused to the battery pack. So they would need to have a rated kind of Apple product with a shorter cable, somehow compounded into the back of the head strap. I agree with you, though, but that said as well, we are starting to hear from dev testers saying that the thing is quite weighty, and we said last time, maybe it's about 500 grams. Yeah. So I'm really curious to have this thing hit the streets next year and really hear firsthand accounts and proper reviewers get their hands on one of these just to hear about it. It's a first step. We talked about it last podcast. Go check that out. But
a third-party battery on your face?
No, not third-party battery. I think
that's
it would
scary.
just be the holder. It would be the holder, right?
Okay, yeah, like that, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, that's not all we've got for Apple fans. We've also, for the ladies, we've got some vibrators that you can pair with the headset. That's right. Actually, they're not vibrators, but they would have haptics in them, so they would rumble. They're VR controllers for your Vision Pro. So people have started to mock up what these things look like, and my God, I personally think they're awful. They're just, they're like if you took Vive wands and you force them into Apple styling, you have two large glass trackpads and phallic wands to go with them.
They kind of look like like Android watches, but then with a stick in the bottom.
I don't know.
Oh no!
Like.
It'll be really. You know what? I just saw them on the live feed, but I just imagine if you could cast your eyes onto the wands, just have one eye in each one. Actually, that would be kind of cool. Okay,
hands labyrinth.
Right,
You're looking your kids around the corner.
Right.
What are you doing?
Whoever's designing this, I want to have the ability to cast my eyes onto anything that has Apple integration. I want to put my eyes on like a TV.
It's like
yes.
Have you ever seen that movie El Laberinto del Fauno? Pan's Labyrinth?
Yes.
With the monster with the eyes.
I was thinking of.
Get it. That's what I want. I want to hold them up like up top of my eyes, or just put remind people I'm always watching them. That's actually a really good boss move. Like I'm gonna put that on my employees' meeting rooms, just a little eye just watching them at all times. Now we're talking.
The Eye of Sauron from Apple. Very good. Well, we thought we were free of tech designers, but nope. No tranquility, no respite. You're going to have to deal with mock-ups for the rest of your lives. Sorry, everybody. If it's not that, it'll be Apple Vision Pro 2 before long. of Marcus and other people mocking that stuff up. But finally, in some more rad designs, backing away from AR for the moment, we've got a VR-controlled camera drone that's pivoted by a head-mounted HMD that makes the wearer look like the Tick. So, Jose, I've just answered your dreams here. And antennae are protruding from either side. It's a pretty high, slick, high responsive tech demo here with a little shake given by the wearer. We do see a bit of drift in the demo video, but otherwise, pretty cool tech, to be honest. Looks like it would be useful in the art of war or something like that. Maybe have your delivery person bring a small pizza, some gnocchi, on a plate or something to your house, and then give you a little nod, drop it off, and fly back home. Oh.
Funny enough, Domino's Pizza was doing that. I forgot the name of the festival, but they were actually having like rocket men delivering pizzas onto the concert festival. I forgot what festival it was, but they were doing that like just very recently.
I want Rocket Man pizza. That sounds good. Just bring some blues, pump out some Elton John. Over that'd be great. Anyway,
I love rocket drones, like VR controlled drones. I'm such a sucker for that. Especially the people that have really mastered it. I don't know if you guys ever looked like drone racing scenes.
Drone racing is incredible.
Yes, it's an amazing talent. It's something that I really, really hope takes off as a scene. That especially in the United States, because I've seen people like trying to make it happen, but it's always segmented. I would love to see like a real national league kind of blow up and really do that like at a large scale, because it's incredible feats of like human cognition, but also positional skills and also aviation skills.
Yeah.
All in a remote presence setting. When you think about it, it's kind of like Jedi. It's the closest thing to like Jedis when you really think about it. Because that's the thing of the concept of a Jedi was like you were one with the flying ship, and it's I love it. I'm a sucker for drone racing.
No, it's incredible. Like you said, I mean the kind of millisecond reactions that you need as you're navigating quite a complex like warehouse maze. It's incredible what they do. Should be an Olympic sport in my opinion.
100%. And also think about like the spatial awareness that you get when you're driving a vehicle, how you kind of know the shape of a car. Think about when you're disconnected physically from the device and you know that the drone has a specific shape. So essentially you eventually start feeling like that's the shape of your body. So you know where your propellers are, the shape of you. It's very interesting stuff. Like the people I talk about that do this like on a professional level, they talk about their drones as if it's an extension of their body. It's really cool stuff. It's like the closest conversation you can have with that stuff is people that like professionally drive cars and they speak of their cars as if like it's a part of them. I love seeing that evolution. It's so cool.
Maybe one day you'll be able to mirror or load your consciousness in a more direct fashion. I don't know. The future's an interesting thing, but
Soma, a video game based on that concept is really creepy and sad. I don't know.
Soma, is that the one?
There's
right.
It's like sort of a horror game, but people sort of uploaded their consciousnesses into robots of different kinds. But I like having a meat body. There's some benefits.
Touche.
That's what a witch would say.
Oh, God. I don't float, okay? I don't float.
I trust it. All right, switching things up a bit. Let's talk about Palmer's mullet. His interview with Peter Diamandis and the direction of Anduril, his military AI company. He had a very nice interview, which showed Palmer's passion for problem solving. He spoke about his three, what Peter calls moonshots, his three main missions. First one, of course, what he's best known for is his VR headset. Then on to Anduril, which is trying to get America ready for the next solution. And finally on to Rowdy and my latest passion, which is wildfires. We set them and people keep trying to put them out. I don't know why. So fighting wildfires essentially with drones and stuff like that. So again, I won't go, and spoil it because I think it's quite a nice story that they told. But just to share that Palmer's mullet is growing incredibly. It's doing very well. He's a human chia pet. But I like how Palmer has kind of evolved out into being, I'm the guy who everyone used to think I was crazy when I was 16. Here are two, and I've got a third on the way. Projects that are clear, factual leaders in their areas. He's very well spoken now. You know, he wasn't as spoken previously. I've been watching him for the last 10 years, and he felt a little bit like an engineer, you know, before. I remember speaking with him at Oculus Connect about crypto. I know, Rowdy, you were there as well. And yeah, very much kind of over accentuated on the detail. He's backed away from that a little bit. Very, very, very good at communicating his points. Great interview. So I encourage people to go and check that out. Watch the full thing. That's Peter Diamandis. With that, and talking a little bit about Meta, they just launched their Quest Plus plan, which is an $8 a month. I think we teased this last time. $8 a month, $60 a year subscription service for Quest 2, Quest Pro, and Quest 3. Gives you 2 titles a month, and they've talked about 2 games that are out this month and 2 that are out next month. So they're starting off with Pistol Whip and Pixel Ripped 1995. I don't know if that was intentional. Pistol Whip and Pixel Ripped nearly sound like the same thing. You can trial it for $1, which is really just to get you to put your credit card and forget about it. And if you stop paying and decide to come out of the program, you lose access to those titles, and you reclaim them once you start paying again. This doesn't come with a library of titles. It's just you get these 2 titles kind of on rent while you're paying the subscription, similar to programs that we've got from Microsoft and Sony. We also know what's coming August. In August, they have Walkabout Mini Golf and Mother Gunship, which is the crazy build-a-gun game, which I like quite a bit. Walkabout's hugely popular. But one thing I wanted to highlight with these choices is that kind of peering through the curtains on this one, it's a subscription service, so that's money straight away for games, right, in your base games. But in addition to that, if you look at Pistol Whip, right, that's had DLC added to it, free DLC added to it along the way, and so there's quite a good big catalog of that. But my suspicion here is this is like your gate key into Walkabout Mini Golf DLC. I don't think you're going to get all the DLC with it. And so really they're like, hey, let's install this game, this base game, so you can get hooked on it. And no doubt they're taking a cut. I forget the cut they take, maybe 30% from the devs once the DLC is purchased on the Meta platform. So I'm expecting we're going to see Beat Saber at some point come into that deal. I said many years ago that they should have, given away Beat Saber with a headset and they'd make a fortune on the DLC anyway. Just get people playing that game and get hooked on it, because we all know the draw of that. But there are other games that they could do the same model with. So my thoughts, my question to you is this something at that price point, $8 a month, $60 a year for 2 titles that Meta pick? Is that attractive to you? Do you not like it? What are your thoughts, guys?
Is it only 2 titles a year?
2 titles a month.
Oh,
Sorry,
2 titles a month.
if I misspoke. Yeah, two titles a month. And if you withdraw from the subscription service, you'll lose access to those.
I mean, I don't not like it, but it's just not for me. Even across other platforms that have tried it before, I don't like not owning my games, even if I don't end up liking them. Because, what if I later down the line, if I cut the subscription and I want to go back to this one particular game that was in this 1 month, but now I don't have do you keep your saves, or at least, but probably not for the Quest, because it doesn't, I don't know. I personally, I'm not against this kind of a experiment, but I like to just keep my games. I want to make sure that I will have them forever, or at least until the platform dies.
Yeah. A lot of people, it's very interesting you said that. I think it really depends on that specific sentiment. Weirdly enough, I think it was traumatizing for me, but I was definitely a digital collector. I would have, everything archived and MP3. And I think around 2013, 14, I lost all my data and I never looked back. So I don't like the concept of keeping games or keeping that kind of stuff. So I think, weirdly enough, I feel like that's also the perspective that a lot of modern gamers think. They don't really like the concept of keeping a game. They kind of try for a few hours and they finish it and uninstall, go on to the next one. Yeah. I think it's a really good value proposition if they reach the levels of PlayStation's Plus or Xbox Live Gold Ultimate subscriptions. Because Xbox right now, they don't really give you a few games anymore. They just give you access to 400 games. And
the library.
Yeah, it's a straight
Yeah.
up library. It's nuts. And every first party Microsoft game that comes out immediately goes free under their store. So Bethesda games now officially reach their store first. So I think that's what they have to release. Like, I really do agree, Beat Saber, like a first party flagship game that you go like, okay, this is a game that has an actual budget behind it. I'd like to see that before I can really say, hey, this is awesome.
And I suppose Viveport is there as well as an alternative. If you don't like Meta's offering, Viveport does work across platforms. You don't have to have a Vive.
And it's a library too. I forgot to mention that.
It is. It's a library, right? And the question I would have here is on the name. I'm not a big fan of the name. Like they called it Quest Plus. So now you've got your Quest Pro Plus, and it's just odd to have it that like it could have been it could be hardware. Quest Plus could be hardware, and I feel like their subscription service needed a different name just to differentiate it. But anyway, Rowdy, what are your thoughts on this then?
I don't like it, but it's for different reasons, I think. I think that I personally think that the Quest library is not ready for this kind of plan. I don't think that there's enough content for, at least for someone like me, to entice me into paying a monthly subscription for 2 titles that are picked by Meta. Also because I don't feel like 2 titles a month, that's 24 titles in a year. I wouldn't even know which 24 titles I would want to, play per se, except for like maybe the big ones like, Saints and Sinners. We have, Beat Saber, Pistol Whip. You have like a couple of really big and good titles. But if you're a little bit like, throughout the year looking out for discounts or looking out for like, like promotional codes, and you probably can get those. I'm not saying for $60 in a year, because that's the price, I think, is not a problem at all. I just don't really think that there's enough content there for me not to own these kind of games. I would have much preferred that it would have been more expensive, and it would have been the entire Quest library.
Yeah,
I think that is.
But there's the dev side of it, though, Rowdy. That's
know,
the thing for me, because I
completely understand that, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think that currently that the library is ready for a plan like this, because I don't think there's enough value in there for me to. Of course, you can trick people, like put your credit card down and you forget about it, but that's not the kind of business that Meta, I think, wants to do. I think Meta wants to entice people and give them value for the money that they pay for. But I'm currently not entirely convinced that there's enough value in their library for a subscription plan entirely.
Some people musing, and I would tend to agree. I think there's an underlying current here that Meta's intentionally launched this at this time to try to help encourage people to pick up their dusty Quest off the shelf and maybe turn away from other gaming platforms, right, and flat, and say, hey, come back to VR. They're going to have to curate very well, to your point, right? They're going to have to curate very well to convince people. I think it's not for people who own a lot of games. I think it's really for, if you're like, I always like to think of the 16-year-old situation, right? Like if you're 16 and you're like, I can pay $8 a month and get 2 games every month on my VR headset, fucking great. Like you wouldn't think about it twice. You'd do that. Especially for $60 a year. That's the price of one game. But you can't pick them,
though. That's the problem. I think that's the problem. You can't pick the games. Like it's Meta that is like kind of, and maybe they'll pick really good games. Maybe they pick the best one, but nothing is preventing them from picking a game that nobody else, because the library is not that big of really solid AAA titles. There's not that many on there.
But it gives you the guarantee that something's coming. I feel, and this is like Alex said in chat. He said, I never play the free games I get from PS Plus. Like I do, but the thing for me I do feel a little guilty about is it's like, ooh, every month I'm like, oh, new free games, great. Add those to my library.
Pressure.
Get receipts in my email for the 0 cost games as a reminder that they're free, and then not play them. They're just added to my library.
But that's that's from the PlayStation. It's not even the VR library. That is a huge library where they choose games from. The Quest just doesn't have that at the moment. The same with Xbox Game Pass. It's a huge library.
And
Epic
also
Games
important.
is another one.
It's
24
important
games
to
isn't
mention.
a lot, though. They've had a huge history, though. Think about it. We've got 3 years worth of titles, easily 350 to 500 games to pick from. They'll just, what they're going to do, I expect every month, is they'll go with a heavy hitter and something a little bit indie. every month.
We
That's what I'm
also
seeing in the current.
Yeah, and it's
setup.
also important to note that the PlayStation Store, the subscription model only came in recently 5 years ago on Sony on a Microsoft level. After 15 years of them being in the market and having such digital stores, I fully agree with what Rowdy's saying is that they're not ready for it. They're just simply not ready, and
I like the initiative
also
though. I
yeah
like the idea of it, but
yeah
I just don't see the real core value, because also for me, like I probably own those titles already. Like
yeah.
when they brought those titles out like 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, like I'll probably already have those
What
because
if they
I
did?
wanted to play
What
them
if
when
they
they came
pulled
out.
Jose's idea though, and they did Asgard's Wrath 2 comes out on this platform?
They
What
have
if
to.
Yeah,
There's,
what if they
there's
did
no way around
Assassin's
that.
Creed when it comes out? Like if they adopt it in the same way as the big players do, this then has you can't ignore level of value, and then people will
Yeah.
just sign on it, right? Because they're
And
But they
like, it
should
doesn't make
communicate
financial
that
sense.
now.
Maybe
That's what I'm
this is
saying. Like, they
a
should communicate that now. They should say,
Agree.
like, when Asgard's Wrath 2 comes out, this will be included in
Yep.
the plan. When Assassin's Creed comes out, this will be included. Don't just like expect people to sign up, and then when it comes out, if it's not included, people will be angry because they are kind of. I feel like they're kind of expecting these kind of titles to be on there as well,
it goes
which
to
if not communicated.
show
Yep.
yeah, it goes to show to the DNA of the leadership, right? Because this is a software company, so this looks like a straight up experiment live, right? We have to
It
remember
is.
this. There's never been a VR curated store before, so they're trying to figure out what is the proper subscription plan, what is the proper pricing for the games that, let's say theoretically, like you mentioned, Walkabout. Like, what if there is value in gameplay, but the pricing, unfortunately, just is too much of a barrier of entry, and if you lower that entry point and they start figuring out the pricing model of certain games, we might be seeing a market being born, but I don't think there's enough
Jose,
data.
when you said there has never been a VR curated store before, what did you mean by
Yeah,
that?
there has never been an all-in-one headset. The Quest Store is the very first one for all-in-one devices that have really hit, scratch the surface of mainstream. We can say that the Oculus Store was it, but was it really? No. We're talking about mainstream levels with actual financial marketing budgets behind it. There's Adam mentioned it earlier, a game like VR Workout, right? That's a game that's not even on the store officially, I don't think yet, but this is a game that's building a following through the value of content creators and engagement. And the reason they're doing all these things and on those cool engagements, because they're trying to figure out what's the proper price model for something like this, right? How does the engagement get monetized?
I agree with what you're saying there. So thank you for clarifying it was standalone that you meant.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying because they have something to reap, but I think you're right. I think they're not playing this the right way. And we did get to see a little behind the scenes through a lot of those Boz AMAs about them price testing with the Quest Pro and a few other things that they've been doing. They've been doing these live trials in a few different walks, including software. They really should have come out the gates with this one. Said for their big heavy hitters that we know about, those are going to come first day for free on this new subscription because people would buy into it. And again, this is what happens, human nature. People will buy into it, set up the subscription or pay for it annually
and forget
and then
about
forget about it.
We've seen
and
this
so the
before.
value comes to them over time. And honestly, Meta could use a bit more cash in the door, So like, I'm surprised that they came out weak. You should come out full guns blazing or not at all, not halfway house. And this is very limping out into the public eye because these four titles, they're all good games. I like them, but it's not enough. It needs to be a cannon shot. It needs to be a kaboom that no one can ignore, that 30% of their audience is going to sign up for and get those hooks in now, so that they can lay the red carpet for everybody.
And there's also a lot of money up front. It's always about the money, right? The relationships that you do, right?
$60.
Well, we're talking about the relationship, right? Like like for example, PlayStation Plus and the games that get to hit these markets, they make an agreement to put it on these stores. So usually Microsoft or Sony, and I'm assuming that that's probably what happened with Pixel Ripped and Pistol is they probably got a nice check up front for the relationship, for the marketing.
I doubt.
They probably,
doubt.
they
Wait,
probably
do you
got
mean
something.
funding to help? Do you mean help
It's
them
marketing.
promote their
Of
game?
course, it's marketing, it's promotion, it's sales. They're going to probably, it's all about doing 100,000 sales versus 20,000 at full price, right? So they probably get some subsidies and some costs. It's in order for there's also relationships like, hey, if we put you in the store for free, you must not sell this for free in another store. It must be full price in another competitive store. So there's a lot of politics behind it in order to get a game for free.
That's
also,
actually.
yeah.
Finish your thought. Yeah.
We've seen this before with Google. Ironically enough, Google had a big problem with their store early on, that people were pretty much grabbing the Google store and using their own version of the Android operating system, and they broke the market because Google wasn't making money off those sales fully. So Google officially went like, hey, you want Android for free? Go ahead, but you don't get the store unless you call it an official Android Google product. That's gave you access to Gmail, gave you access to the store. And I feel like maybe that's what's happening with Meta, is that they're figuring out a pricing model for I forgot the name of the platform, but their entry point for developers. I forgot what it's called.
Oculus, no. Start, no.
The app lab.
App Store? App Lab.
The App Lab, yeah. So maybe that's what they're doing, is they're figuring out a way to. That's the reason App Lab existed, because they felt that the App Lab games were all similar, too much of the same game. And if you heard Facebook talking about this and their store, they said, hey, the reason we don't bring so many games into the store is because everybody's kind of doing the same thing. So App Lab becomes a curating platform. So if you want to have the same game, those already have $1 entry point, similar to an app store on mobile, is making the price so low that people have a set expectation. Like, hey, it's a 99-cent game. It's a free game. You're not going to get anything crazy. And they're building.
This is the part where I have a problem with the model. Okay. Like I think it serves a purpose. It has a place. I don't think they've marketed it correctly. I don't think they've entered the game in the right way. The part that I worry about from when Viveport launched is the relationship that Meta has with developers and how they're getting monetized. Is it by minute in my game that people are contacting that I get paid? Is it per, game that you're offering? Like, what does that breakout look like? Is it fair to the devs? Is it going to work? Because if they were able to strike that balancing act correctly, what ends up with is you have the devs who are selling more, and for the purposes of them getting money for the next game that they want to fund, they're able to say, oh, instead of 200,000 units, I sold 1 million copies of my game. So it's a numbers game, and it helps to inflate. They get money as well. But if it's not balanced and they're getting shafted, it will fob them off. They won't come back and reinvest in VR. They won't create more VR games. And so
it's, what?
It's a little dangerous experiment.
It's going to push Android. It's going to push XR development to the same development thought process of mobile development, and that's going to suck. There's going to people, and it's people that say there's no money in VR development are going to be 100% right, because it's going to be probably ad based or sales numbers based. 100,000 sales, 30,000 sales.
I'm worried about the knock-on effects of this, right? So
and if anything, like I think the plan is too cheap. Like, I think that a value proposition of $60 for a year, even rent, is too low, because that makes me question the value that they're going to deliver with this kind of course, we don't know what kind of titles are going to be included. And I think that's the huge flaw in this kind of thing, is that like, it's kind of this like surprise kind of thing. You're going to get 2 new games next month, but you have no idea, which games these are going to be, if they're going to be heavy hitters, if they're going to be smaller indie games. And I think there needs to be, you don't maybe need to even say like, what the titles are, but maybe like a value proposition of like, how much would these games be if you would have bought them, or like, so that you have a little bit more information. Because I think $60 even for a rent, because there are people not complaining about, buying games and you don't own them. I mean, everyone has a Netflix account. I don't own movies anymore. And then once you cancel Netflix, you can't see those movies again. And for the majority of games that, at least that I as a casual gamer play, once I finish the game, I'm not going to start it over and play Skyrim, 3, 4, 5 times like Zim does. But what I'm saying is like Skyrim, a lot of people play a game, they play it they don't even finish. I mean, I'm like 80% of the games that I play, I don't finish. So
you're saying that model works, right?
Yeah,
in this
the model
era.
works. But I think I mean, I might be shooting myself in the foot here, but like I think it's too cheap. I think it's too cheap for
the right price.
I would be very happy if Meta proves me wrong and they come out with all the big titles and it's only a $60 value proposition. That'd be amazing. I'd be applauding them.
Title if it's developed for a mobile device. I think this is the conversation. I think this is the reality check that anybody who loves all-in-one headsets like the Quest platform need to accept. This is using a mobile CPU. Similar to the latest cell phone that you have on the market. If your latest cell phone can outrun a Skyrim, sorry, your headset is not going to run. Your all-in-one headset is not going to run Skyrim. This
at
means that the big games that you're talking about, I'm sorry to break it to you guys, they're coming to PC. PC VR is going to come back. I'm sorry, guys. GPUs are going to make a big resurgence, and it's going to be cooler, right? It's going to be wireless, so people are going to get the best of both worlds, but mobile devices, mobile CPUs are meant to be mobile. They're not. Yes, there'll be cool games. We're going to see older games come out, but you're not going to see, Cyberpunk 2077 running in an all-in-one headset. I'm sorry, guys.
Just wait. You just wait.
Oh, it will. Yeah, right. No. 10 years from now, for sure. It's
humans are sloppy. AI is going to tidy up our code maps. It'll be running beautifully. We'll get it at 180 hertz.
I'm ready.
In each eye. Yeah, that's it. It's coming.
For the little one eyes.
So that's Quest. I didn't expect us to talk that for quite that long. Let's move sides onto Sony's real estate. So speaking of big libraries, PSVR2 now has a library with over 125 titles in the store. And they just launched a new sizzle reel for what they've got. And it's great to see, right? That they're now, since February? We're not even 6 months past. They've got quite a full store. Is 2/3 of it kind of like stuff you'd want to ignore? Yeah, probably. But it's got a lot there. If you've been holding off, you can get it in retail stores. PSVR2's there. I'm just glad that Sony shows the way when it comes to messaging. They continue to put their years of experience in showing off when they've got something to sell. So just wanted to kind of a slow clap applaud there for Sony. With that said, again, as Jose has predicted with his crystal ball, PC VR is coming to dominate us all. And PSVR2 to PC we've been wishing for some time. Well, lo and behold, in the last week, Half-Life Alyx is able to run. There's a gentleman named Jan Schmidt who announced a successful PC hack in close collaboration with Ivory, who we talked about a few podcasts ago, mentioned an update for their work on PSVR2 as well. So there's an alpha Ivory driver for Steam VR, no doubt based on kind of the original code set, now paired with the god-awful Nolo VR 6-DoF tracking controllers. But it's kind of like, hey, it's working. And then you read the fine print and you say, okay, great. So you've got Half-Life Alyx working. You've got a USB-C connected PSVR2 connected to a PC running Steam VR with this alpha driver going. So you've got all the kind of basics there. How are you tracking the headset? Well, how they track the headset is done with a PSVR 1. There is no picture of this, but and the developer communicated this in their own tweet that they are doing the tracking with PSVR 1 on top of PSVR 2. They're joking away and saying, doesn't add these two together, you got PSVR 3. This must look great. I really want Ivory to release a photo of these two headsets duct taped together on his head. We've seen shots like that before. It would just be funny. But I think what we're seeing is there are some still pretty gaping wide chasms to cross. Don't get too hopeful. It's fun that they've got this working. It's fun that they've got Steam VR in there. They've kind of duct taped it all together. It's at least the start for hope at the end of the tunnel. A light that maybe is going to be there, that we get this gorgeous OLED display hooked up to a PC one day. I still hope they manage it, but it looks like they're working through some pretty tough walls. Yeah. And I'm glad I got rid of my PSVR 1. I'm not going to duct tape it to my head before anyone else says that should go on the wheel.
And how many? I never realized how many people have Nolo trackers. Like, why? Why would you even own that? Like, I owned one, and I have it like in holy water, like encapsulated. I don't ever want to connect that thing near a device ever again. It's nuts.
Yeah, those are awful.
Yes.
They're really bad. But hey, it's a kind of a functional solution that they've got, at least. One other thing on the PSVR 2 side I wanted to talk about, because as someone who has enjoyed things like Resident Evil, GT7, right? These like heavy hitting titles on PSVR 2. One thing that still irks me, and all the PSVR 2 fanboys and girls out there who are coming from indexes and stuff like that, like Adam probably sees it, reprojection. Right, reprojection in the headset, that kind of, you get that lovely ghosting effect where you're like, okay, this reminds me of when they first came out with LCD pan would drag across the screen and it was not fun. Well, the Hubris dev, whether that's a leak or not, had said this, quote, I think the PSVR 2 will get better every update from now on. A good example will be future improvements to their reprojection system, that's Sony's, which they are working on right now. So if they're tuning their reprojection and how this will end up turning in the headset, we've seen, major software updates to previous headsets and platforms. I really hope they find a way for PSVR 2's reprojection to be tackled, at least in some games, especially high motion games, FPS games, that type of thing. That'd be pretty cool if they'd be able to fix that. Maybe sprinkle in a little bit of witchcraft, make that work. So that's reprojection.
Joke.
That is.
Bringing this back again.
Gotta. If not, we could just give it the float test. So, not to do that with an Apple Vision Pro. Bloop. Oh, it sank. It's the witch after all. With that, let's move into AR. Right. So I wanted to show you Nintendo Switch, an integration between, again, it's a duct tape solution, but it's 3 or 4 things kind of working together. The emulation layer here being shown is Melon DS. So this is a Nintendo DS emulator. 3D models are extracted using a Ripper tool, and then it's being rendered with iOS Reality Kit. And so the combination of this looks pretty funky. You've got a kind of a standoff Switch augmented reality edition of Mario Kart. So for our audio listeners, what we're seeing is kind of a projected level. We've also got Pokemon that's also displayed in the tweet, and so it's showing this kind of halfway house to a 3D environment that's pulled all the geometry from the game code out in front of you in real life. So you must have quite a bit of tech. You've got obviously something that you're seeing with either a second phone or a headset to look at a foundation QR code for positioning on the Switch, and then the Switch is actually running the game, and it's being emulated and pulled out through iOS. So crazy sandwich of tech there, but it is a kind of a cool concept. And I don't know if you guys, it was before your time with the podcast, there was a guy in, like, I don't know, Berkeley or Harvard or somewhere reached out to me when I was knee deep in Skyrim and said, hey, I've got this thing. I use an old school Kinect and I pull the geometry data out of the game, and you could step behind your Skyrim character in VR and like look around them kind of thing, and look around, and you could see where they were looking, almost like there was like a cone of vision, and then like what do you call that in RTS games? The fog of war, kind of like fog of war in the rear 120 degrees. But that's kind of what you see here. It's like this idea that you could fill in the gaps. And now that we've got all this AI stuff coming on with like generative fill, maybe we're going to get to the point where a game like an old school Pokemon or a Mario Kart just comes into our VR or AR headset, and we've got the full thing completed as you would imagine it, because AI is taking all of its available information and saying, hey, I can fix that problem. No problem. Here you go.
And cinema too. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Like sadly, as Bradley posted one, I think it was like a Netflix film in a spatial space, and the AI, and I think it was watching anime, and they were using AI to like make the scenes in 3D, so that actually were straight up, the scenes were like physically coming out of the screen. It's if you, I'm pretty sure if you pull up Stylius Bradley's Twitter, it's one of the latest ones, but it's nuts. You can see like it almost looks like a jelly ball, but it's actually a screen that's like warping into 3D. It's very, weirdly enough, very captivating. Like I can see myself watching the movie. Yeah. In that form factor, I love that. I liked
when 3D came out with the stereo glasses at the cinema. I really enjoyed that. But there were also films that did the 3D conversion poorly, and so what you're saying to me is a little bit like AI taking a leap in that direction. Yeah. Like let AI do that work. Don't manually do it, and maybe it'll be more convincing in the end, and with less work to do. So yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Thanks for showing it. All right. Rowdy's popping out, and we're going to turn him into a static image in just a minute. He's got to run off to a meeting. All right. With that, so that takes us now into golf in AR. So we've got Liquid City, who posted a few experiments over the last week, and these seem to be escalating. One of them included an augmented reality golf game in a real office, complete with a hole that was down a flight of stairs. And so the players are knocking a kind of an inflated golf ball down this back staircase, and just playing a game of golf on their staircase, but in AR. So it's pretty neat because it understands the situation around it. It knows that there's geometry there. So playing games like Walkabout Mini Golf, not just in a fantasy land, but actually off, would be pretty cool. I think that's a kind of a nifty idea. I'm going to keep, drip feeding you guys AR projects as we see them, because one day they're going to take over. So next I wanted to show you something truly awful. So if you're at all squeamish, please look away. If you're on the audio version, this won't have to worry. You might hear shrieks from the guests, however, which is that, have you ever wanted to look at a broken leg in VR? Like look inside the thigh? No? Never?
I'm good. No.
Well,
Adam's face is contorting.
It's frightening. I mean, it's interesting at the same time. So
what do you see there?
You see the inside of a leg. I'm going to replay this here. It's like you can see the muscle tissue and the bone, but you can see through the bone as well. And it looks like, I don't know how they're controlling. I think it's based on the direction of movement, but you can raise or lower the leg to be able to see more inside the bone and the severity of the break. And actually part of the leg bone doesn't look like a normal leg bone's supposed to look. Like it's not one piece. I'll just leave it at that. It looks a little shattered.
The way I would describe it, it's like if bone was turned gelatinous. A human femur that has been somewhat broken into pieces like a candy cane.
Not supposed to look like that.
No, definitely not. But I never knew. Like, I've seen, simple and complex fractures, but I've never seen something looking quite as nasty as this image. And so I just wanted to bring that to all of you.
Do you know if this is is this like a simulated AR or VR thing, or is this like an actual scan of someone that had this happen?
That's what I'm thinking.
Like,
I don't know. It looks like a scan to me. It looks like a scan. And I can imagine that's how it would look. But Jesus, yeah, it's I've always thought of breaks as like, like you break a breadstick, a nice and clean, simple break. You can stick them back together, and then hopefully the marrow will cause the thing to kind of glue itself back together. But this thing looks like powder. Like that person's femur is gone.
Dude, the poor designers who they had to create that. I hope they enjoyed it. Like, I hope this is their thing, and they had like fun every step of the way designing this. But no.
So we've had Apple adult toys, we've had gelatinous femurs, but the real horror is next. This is not the worst that you've seen. This will be. What's worse than a broken leg? What's worse than a broken, fucked up leg in VR? I'll tell you what. How about ads in your AR experiences floating around, and I present you rewards for interaction from Niantic. Yes, Niantic, the company infamous for Pokemon fame on mobile, have recently cited that 80%, bullshit, 80% of their trial players said that AR ads are a good thing. They're going to be showcasing this at the Cannes Festival, the International Festival of Creativity. And I'll tell you a little bit about this. So These are rewarded AR ads, which they've been dabbling with in their various apps. They are designed to increase brand impact through immersive product storytelling, assist with the purchasing decision through AR visualizations, show you a chicken sandwich. Oh, I can see it in front of me. Sounds like something out of Macbeth. And encourage conversion and sales by driving traffic in store. This makes me nervous, guys. It really does. This is the step where we've gone into, I want to control your behavior. I want Jose and Adam to take your wallet and purse or whatever, and I want you to walk to the store, and I want you to buy my thing. And guess what? If you do that, I'm going to give you bonus game points. Yeah. Go to the store, go to Starbucks and buy a latte by 3 o'clock, or else you don't get the points. Run across traffic. Whatever you got to do.
I feel like this could only work in very, very specific use cases. Like if I'm thinking Pokemon Go, like, okay, instead of because on Pokestops, you see a flat image of the McDonald's or whatever thing. So if it was AR and had a little coupon on it, fine, whatever. But if you're just, you need to have the permissions somehow. You can't just be like turning on people's cameras and like I don't know how this could work in like a normal situation that's not specific to like Niantic games, how they have location based stuff. I don't know. It's weird.
That's the scary part. I think the real scary part is that they're right. that's the scary part.
That is the scary part.
It adds in because ads in our vicinity always exist, right? Every single product that you buy has a brand name on it. That's marketing. So our eyes are already filled with ads everywhere we go. They're just understanding the psychology behind it, which is, as you said, Adam, pair it with things that are enticing. And I wish I could pretend to not be a part of this little story I'm sharing, but I was curious. I am a big fan of Mr. Beast, and Mr. Beast released a chocolate brand that he keeps pushing down your neck in every single video.
Feastables? Is it Feastables?
Yes.
Sponsored by Feastables.
Yes, everything. Yep. And so on the back of the chocolate bars, they have a QR code that has an exclusive video. Every single batch has an exclusive video that he doesn't release on his main channel. And we're talking about Mr. Beast videos tend to be very fun. So you have a Feastable, you're going to scan that QR code. So that is an ad that you kind of almost get tricked into. Pokemon does it all the time. Like there's a huge card scene with the Pokemon cards. People make videos with millions of views, like opening up cards on YouTube. And it's
but the thing is about this for me, right? It's not the fact that they're going to put, like a few years ago, Meta tried to put ads in games and they got told, go home, Mark, right? I agree with you. This is inevitable. This is a next step. It's also somewhat natural for us to have ads around us or whatever. Fine. And it drives the content that we buy and love and all that kind of stuff. Fine. The thing for me where it starts to get a little bit worrisome is that we're going into the realm of interactivity. Like I said, they can send you on a real life quest to go do something as you're wearing your AR glasses. As I said, like walk to Walmart.
Pokemon Go had New York City like on the streets. Like I was in New York when Pokemon Go came out, and people were wearing branded jackets. Like I grew up in the quote unquote the hood. So if you had an opposing team repping, it was on site. So they had us doing that for a very long time. Nintendo had us doing that.
I know. It was great. And actually, honestly, the world felt very alive at that moment for us gamers and who loved. I loved Pokemon Go. It got me to buy a new phone. Actually, I bought into Apple at that point. It was great. It was really, really good for about, 5 or 6 weeks, maybe a little bit longer than that. That summer was quite phenomenal. And then, of course, the summer after, whatever, they're like, no, lockdown, get inside. So it's, I don't know. It's coming, right? This kind of thing is coming. Rewarded AR ads. This is kind of an interesting concept. Be interesting how it shakes out. Thanks for sharing the kind of Mr. Beast piece there that play with that. That's kind of neat. And with that, thinking about what team was I on? I'm trying to think. Team Mystic. I was Mystic. What were you?
Same here, Mystic.
Hey, Team Mystic. See? Adam wasn't Mystic.
I forget what the red one is. I don't know what the red.
Valor.
Valor. Okay, because the hair. I
Yeah.
can't. I gotta
That
go
was dope,
red.
yeah.
Come on.
There you go, red. Of course. All right, let's move into a proper fight, a fight for the eons. This is going to be Elon versus Mark. So Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, cage fight, right? And so we're going to talk about this a little bit. So Zuckerberg had responded to Elon via an Instagram story featuring a screenshot of Musk's original challenge to potentially cage fight. And Zuck said, send me location. So it does seem that the CEOs of Tesla and Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp could go toe-to-toe. But where? How much are tickets going to cost? Are we going to be able to view it ringside in VR? Like, these are the questions that we need to know.
That would be awesome.
So
They're talking about. I think I saw an article earlier. They said that they agreed on the Greek Colosseum. Apparently, they're actually going to do it in the Colosseum.
Oh.
So well, yeah. So we've got the first thing that we saw in the social sphere was out in Sin City. UFC has the Octagon in Las Vegas, which is like the quintessential cage match site. You know, you've got the seats around, you've got the ring. It just all looks really good. It's kind of what it is. If I'm not mistaken, Adam, have you done ringside work before? Did you do something around
I
a
did.
stage like this?
I was a ring
years
card
ago?
girl, so I would come out with the cards saying the
Awesome.
different round numbers.
Hell yeah.
I've done some weird shit, man. But that was
What was it?
That's
Boxing or what was
MMA.
it?
Yeah.
MMA.
Oh,
Heck, so you saw
hell
some
yeah.
proper fights then.
There was
Wow.
you bleed from the face a lot. I mean, not I didn't, but I got to see a lot of blood. Front row.
Competitive, holding those signs.
Getting, gotta be number one holding those cards.
Hell yeah.
That's really
But,
cool.
it
That's
was-
such a cool job.
It was interesting. So yeah, it was nice to be able to go into. It wasn't for like UFC or any big, big company foundation, whatever you want to call them. But it was nice to get like pretty much front row seats, and then you go on, do your thing, show the round, and then you sit back down, and it's nice.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Damn. Yeah, you get your front row, right? So
Mhm.
fantastic. Yeah. You didn't see any teeth, did you, in your time? I hope not.
I didn't try to look
Some
that
flying
hard.
off.
That maybe,
No
but
teeth flying out. Yeah.
it's a souvenir,
Um,
right? You put that in your pocket, take it home with you.
Where's my tooth? Oh, you gotta just get the
I was
tooth at the
there.
dentist?
No, it's the winner's
3
tooth.
hours?
Me, and then you sell it on eBay later for like I don't know how much a tooth goes for.
Extra profit. So that was the first one. That was the Octagon. The other place that people were saying, as what Jose was saying there, I saw it in one of the Toronto articles. They were saying the Rome's Colosseum. They were reaching out to say that maybe this would be a potential venue. That's quite a far flight for both U.S.-based CEOs to take. Go out there and fight like gladiators in the Colosseum. I personally, I think that as a venue would be pretty poor. Like the
Yeah.
acoustics wouldn't be great. There's not much technology laying in that event. Like it'd be tough to watch it, right? Like
But the
in
optics,
a
though,
quality
the
way.
optics will be incredible.
Are they
Like that
gonna?
will be an image. That will be like I'm trying to think of like what's the like most famous picture of our generation, and I don't think we have one yet. I think this will be one of just like let's be honest. Like I regardless of opinions, like Mark Zuckerberg is going to f Elon up in a way that it's like if Elon really
That looks
takes up
sad.
that challenge, I really feel bad for Elon. Like maybe Elon has something that we don't know. Like maybe he does have a metal exoskeleton that
Oh,
we're
no.
about to be.
He's got it. He's got it. I'm getting at that. He's got his
Yeah.
secret weapon. I'm going to tell you about his secret weapon.
Oh
Okay.
man, here we go.
So again, just like weighing these guys up, right? We've got Musk, who is 51 years old, maybe 52 now. Zuckerberg, who's 39. He's only a year older than me. I look at Zuckerberg and I go, I could have done something. No, I've done something definitely better with my life. Zuckerberg's just destroying the world. I'm kidding. He's kind of an admirable dude. But Musk is 6'1". Mark is only 5'7". Okay, so he's
But that's not
that's
that.
a pretty big
I
difference.
mean, yeah, but
Not
a skilled,
This is like
a skilled
Batman versus
short
Superman.
person could still do a lot of, damage to a taller person taller
It's
than them.
possible. You know what it evokes in my mind, though? It does evoke in my mind a certain scene from Game of Thrones featuring the Mountain and another combatant, right? So Musk definitely has the kind of weight on him and the size and the scale. Mark, as Jose alluded to, has been training jiu-jitsu for a while now. We've seen these roll-arounds and stuff like that. And I do wonder, even toe-to-toe with these two big CEOs, which would generate more noise, Twitter or Facebook? Like, what would get more coverage?
Oh, it's gonna be Twitter for sure until the beatdown begins. Because then, as a Twitter subscriber, I don't think I feel comfortable paying $8 a month for the CEO getting his butt whooped on a global level. I'm gonna have to move over to the Meta social platform, whatever comes out after that. Because it's just, come on, man. Like you don't sign up to lose like that.
He's talking about Twitter Blue. For those who were thinking we're talking Quest Plus, no, this is Twitter. No. This is Twitter Blue. Surprisingly, the same.
I will sign up to Quest Blue if Mark does the beatdown that I expect he's about to deliver to Elon. I will subscribe to Quest Blue. It's like, you have to, man. You say, hey, and Mark will be able to back that up and say, hey, I did this on Supernatural. This is how I trained, and everybody starts buying headsets.
Did this on Supernatural?
Boxing. I learned from the boxing.
Good ad. All right. I agree. I think it would be great for the two companies. All right, Adam, roll the clip for me of Celebrity Deathmatch. This is an ancient, stop claymation feature that used to be on MTV. That stands for Music Television. I can't believe I have to explain what that is. It was where all the best shows were back when I was a teenager, and Celebrity Deathmatch was awesome. It was like these fabricated matches between, you'd have Einstein versus Gandhi or whatever it was, and people would go to fight, right? And this is what I think of when I hear about Mark and Elon, going toe-to-toe in the ring, except for they're going to do it in real life. And man, I mean, I can't believe that the lawyers would probably let him do it, but I hope it happens.
Well, Elon's mom doesn't want him to do it, right? Elon's mom is very against this.
Yeah.
Mom never.
She's gonna break the fight. Have you guys seen the Batman versus Superman, like the latest one, where like Batman's like in a mech suit fighting Superman? It's gonna be similar to that. Like that's how their fight. Like I don't want to spoil the movie, but that's how their fight ends. Where like one of them, like I don't know if it's Batman or Superman, but like one of them is about to punch the other, and the guy goes like Martha. He goes like, "That's my mom's name." Wait a minute, that's my mom's name. And they both like get along at the end. So I think that's what's going to happen.
Do their moms have the same name? I guess that's also going to be.
No, I don't think it's going to be their moms. I don't think it's going to be the mom's name. I think it's something that like Mark is like. I see like Elon being put on the floor, and Mark is about to punch him, and Elon is going to say something like, "All I wanted to do was to conquer the world," and Mark goes like, "I want to conquer the world too," and that's how they both shake hands. And
they make a new company.
I've got another one here. Okay, so now we need to show. There is a melting point between these two gentlemen, and I didn't know this before today.
Mm-hmm.
Lex Friedman, right, podcaster, user guy. He's wrestled with both of these gentlemen. In fact, we've got video of both. Okay, so those were posted on Twitter. So if you want to see what these chefs are cooking in terms of their style, we've got that for you. So we said Mark has trained in jiu-jitsu. He's like Neo from the Matrix, really kind of small guy, skinny, but he can bend the place. Elon, however, has some moves. He's got a secret weapon, and his secret weapon he calls the walrus. The walrus. The walrus. So what he does is he just lays down on his opponent, and that's it. It just takes the fight out of him with his massive walrus weight.
First GIF in the comments for when he said that just makes me so happy. It's just on point.
That's good. But yeah, we should make some predictions here. Obviously, we couldn't keep Jose canned. He's on the Mark side. So who do you think's going to win this fight when it happens, Adam? What do you think?
I think it's going to be Mark. I mean, he's younger. He's got more skill. I mean, and as someone, I used to work at an MMA gym. I did mostly the weight training, but I took a couple of the classes when I could. I could easily throw my husband, who's like, significantly taller than me. I think this will be very sad for Elon. And I'm like Jose. I feel kind of bad for him. I mean, I think he's gonna do the walrus, but I think it's not gonna be on Mark. It's just gonna be on the floor. Like
he's gonna do the Mario 64 on him. Just grab the whale and just spin him around.
Wow, that's a good image, Jose. That's a great image.
What do they?
I love that, the Bowser bit.
Did
right?
they say
Fling
what
Bowser.
kind of like style
I'm so ready.
fight this might be, or like, is it gonna be jiu-jitsu?
No holds barred.
Just
Cage
any...
fight. That's
Okay.
what they said. No holds barred, cage fight. So one thing I didn't say yet was there has been some rumors around that Meta might be bringing back what used to be called Oculus Connect, an in-person San Jose convention. And so if that was to come to fruition, I would love it if they would, hey, it's not far from where Elon stays in Texas or Mark in California. If I can just rock up and do it with like VR so people could watch from home and really get into the fight.
No, during the
Yeah,
keynote.
wouldn't it be awesome to see that
I would
live?
cast that.
On stage during the keynote.
Make the keynote. Deliver the keynote while you're fighting the company
Yes.
who's going toe to toe with you in socials, right? Yeah, that's it. I thought, maybe this is me coming out of Pride Month, but I thought the most shocking but not impossible outcome would be that Elon, Mark, and Lex all just come out as gay. I thought that would just be a great finale. They're all there just wrangling, tangling, old Roman Greco style.
Well, if we're going with
why
Jose's
not?
theory, maybe that's going to be the thing that they're like, I'm gay. Me too. And
Secret love?
and then they stand
Secret
up
love.
and then they shake hands and then maybe, I don't know, stuff
that would
happens
be
behind the scenes. I
beautiful.
don't know.
The image that cured the world is just Elon and Mark just like giving a passionate kiss, like those like 1920s Navy pictures that you see, historical pictures. It's gonna, oh man,
It's gonna go potentially
I'm
not
with
safe
them.
for work for violence, and then not safe for work for other reasons after the end.
Gosh,
it's beautiful.
Mark and Elon start their OnlyFans. Great. Okay, so with that, that's a nice little segue. Oh God, now that we've simmed that in that simulator and we've got that cooking in your brains, Jose's going to point you to a few more in our releases section now coming up as we switch over to the things that are coming and the things that you should be purchasing with your wallets.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Oh, I do agree with both of you, by the way. I do think absolutely that Mark's going to dominate Elon. Yeah. There's no hope. The guy's not trained half as well. Maybe if he waits 6 months, he'll have a chance, but no.
Or he's using Neuralink. I'm telling you, maybe where he's about to. Mark, yeah.
There's some kind of
they called him
internal-
Neo for a reason.
Yeah, stuff, not biometrics, but like biomechanical things he's got implanted in himself that gives him a advantage,
An
like
advantage?
tech that he's been working on
Yeah.
that he can't test it on
Like
anyone
these
else,
muscles
but
are
he'll test it on
sponsored by
himself.
Neuralink. Yeah. now we're talking. I was up just go straight into releases, but that's actually got announced for next year. There is the world's first. They're calling it Enhanced Human Olympics are happening next year, which are athletes who are using enhancement drugs to outperform humans, and they're competing amongst each other.
Holy shit. Oh, no, that's just, oh my God. That's such
This
a
is the real
dangerous
thing.
precedent.
Oh, I'm
Really?
excited. Yeah, there's
Oh
like
my God.
that's why people like F1 racing, right? Because you see people like bringing cars to their mold. I think humans are there too. It's like, hey, if you want to like be the world's best, go for it, man. Like the promo for the I'll post on the Twitter, but the guy's the world's fastest person, but he can't reveal his name because he's using physical
He's
enhancement
doping or
drugs.
whatever. Yeah.
So
It's
for the
really-
first,
This is like the rally version of racing. Like you watch normal racing because you want to see cars go fast, but you watch rallies because you want to see people like just smacking into
Go at
each
their
other. and be
best.
like-
I'm
Yeah.
sure we're going to see like just general like heart failure and stuff like that. Like things are going to pop and blow out of these.
People are gonna
There's
make
a
bets
lot
on
of
that.
heart.
They're gonna be like, okay, which athlete do you think is gonna have the heart attack first? Right?
But
Yeah,
how long?
think
Black
about-
Mirror.
God.
But think about our superhero. I understand there's going to be a lot of failed, unfortunate mishaps on this process, but think about when we get like our best, I don't know, athlete, and then we compete that athlete versus some other nation's best athlete.
But dude,
And
I
then
am,
we have,
I'm so thirsty for this kind of content. You have no idea. Like, but the problem is it leads us from this, right? And then it gets a little bit dramatic and there's the drug enhancements and all that. Leads us directly to Battle Royale, like live
Yes.
human Battle Royale.
I'm ready.
I would definitely watch that, but I'm just saying that's where we're going, like That's some dangerous stuff. Anyway.
Okay.
Back to releases. All right.
Bloody hell.
All right. So I'm going to give you guys a short list on releases, and there's a really good reason for that. So coming up within the next 2.5 weeks, we have Synapse. Releases on July 4th for $34.99. It is a PSVR2 exclusive. That's from the people that brought you Fract, Phantom, I think it's Phantom Coven?
Covert Ops.
Covert Ops.
Oh, the kayak one?
And Far Cry VR. Yes.
Yeah,
And
the
Far Cry.
kayak one.
Yeah. Far Cry VR. What's up?
I still want to try that. That one seemed interesting. I don't know, just shooting people on a kayak. Like, that seems kind of fun.
That's, yeah, Covert
Ops.
Ops.
Really good. It's really, really good. Honestly,
yes.
the thing is, if you've enjoyed any time in kayak VR, right, the kayak VR game, which is tranquil, but you're like, I'd like to bring a sniper with me, then you know.
That's I like to bring
Some
a
days I
sniper
choose
with me.
violence. That's
Exactly. Yeah. More often than not, I feel. All right.
There you
So,
go.
so N-Dreams is next big one. I'm looking forward to trying Synapse. I haven't had a chance to.
And congrats to them. They got N-Dreams officially the biggest VR development studio, I believe, and they were definitely very proud of that. So good for them. Yeah. So Synapse releases July 4th, $34.99. That's about 28 pounds. It is a PSVR2 exclusive. I also have listed here because everybody loves free, right? But Forever VR Cornhole has gone free to play for
Not
at
dirty.
VR for
What
VR?
hole?
Cornhole.
No, to be honest, I played that game. I played cornhole when I was growing up because we had
Same.
boards or whatever. I never knew the name until I was like, I don't know, 37, 38.
Same.
I never knew. And
too.
I heard
So
it. I was
weird.
like, that's not really what it's called.
just
is
like
it? That sounds really
hacky
naughty.
sack in the hole. I forget. I mean, there was another name that we called it, but it was not cornhole. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That was
Cornhole is that like more of a East Coast thing? It sounds
East
like
Coast? Maybe.
Hickson, Ohio, or something like
Cornhole.
exactly.
Definitely. I'm
rednecks.
from upstate New York, so that's exactly where I heard cornhole from. And also perfect timing, right? So if
For
you're in the
free.
US, you're gonna show some July 4th celebrations. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
play some cornhole. And then I have these ones are a little bit off, but unfortunately,
Wait a second. Why did they call it cornhole? Did you actually chuck corn through a hole at some point? Is that
Makes
what happened?
sense. Upstate.
Because I know it is a beanbag game, but like, is it?
Maybe it originated
guys
as
ever
corn?
chuck
I never did actually
Cups
corn.
of corn?
I mean,
That makes sense.
And why don't we have horseshoes? Why don't we have? This has turned into a very American podcast now. Why don't we have horseshoes? I don't know. We need to get that.
That's a good question because now I'm thinking about it. That makes sense because upstate New York had all that they had was corn. So
Really?
What do we do with it? We
Like
eat it?
unhusked corn, like just
eaten,
straight up.
Chuck it, we
corn
huck it.
everywhere. Literally, like everything's made of corn. That's the reason I left that area. It's never again.
All the corn. It's just corn everywhere.
It was the corn. It wasn't the ghetto. It was the corn that
No,
scared
it was
you
the
away, yeah?
corn. Too much corn.
Yeah.
But after that, yeah. So for VR cornhole, free to play. Celebrate some Americana this July 4th with that. And then next up, this one releases a little bit up front, but there is a very heavy next podcast. There's going to be so many releases. I felt like I will probably not mention these, so I'm going to mention them now. Battle Bowls releases July 13th. It's going to be on Meta and Steam. There's no price yet. The reason I signaled this one out is it's a Dungeon Defender game in VR. It's co-op. It reminds me a lot of Dungeon Defenders. They're little balloon-based monsters, and it's a lot like there's another bowl game that kind of had similar.
Is it the Valve one?
And I'm forgetting.
Or
What'd you say?
the one that was in Valve, right? When you first you go through the tutorial on how to do your
Archery?
headset. Yeah, the
In the
archery.
lab?
Yes.
Yeah,
What's
the
it
lab.
called? I forget.
The lab
Yeah.
is the game, and then I don't remember if it had a name for the sub game that you told us
Okay.
the other podcasts were
Mhm.
launching as separate executables. But yeah, this
Correct.
this is a multiplayer game. I'm trying to figure out how the
Yes.
game works though. Is it you're defending your castle with archery?
Correct. And you have 4 corners of the castle, and each archer has a different superpower. So they gamified it based on the powers of each archer. And so that creates the ability to kind of create specific attacks and combos. So, left corner with right corner and opposing corners attack specific monsters and creating combos through that. So it's a definitely, it reminded me of multiplayer Dungeon Defenders, which is like a mobile game that I was heavily addicted to way more than I want to admit right now. But
I love tower defense games.
Yes.
Have you ever played, I'm going to ask both of you, because this is homework you got to do if you've not, Kitty Apocalypse. Have you played Kitty Apocalypse?
That sounds familiar.
No, I haven't.
It's from 2016 or 2017.
It's a 2D base, right?
No,
Sounds like a
it's
mobile game.
full VR. It's like a 15-hour campaign. It's really, really good. It's the best tower defense I've ever played in VR. So if you're really in for some good fun, Kitty Apocalypse.
Is it
Kitty
have to do with
Great,
cats?
super cute.
I guess.
Yeah, little alien space cats that are
Aw.
invading, and you have to kill them all, I think.
Aw.
There was gonna be little kids and just shoot them all. I was like, whoa, that's not a game I'm gonna advertise. Kids, I'm with it. Okay. And up next, I have The Break-In, another game that's coming a little bit far off, but it's just so many releases I wanted to make sure I mentioned. July 17th, Steam, PCVR. It is a co-op stealing simulator. The trailer is bananas. You see this guy. It reminds me of Tom Clancy's, I think it's called Insurgency, the one that you shoot people and defending the house. Kind of similar mechanics, but you're not defending. You're actually going inside to rob the house. So everybody has to be stealthy. You see the trailer like a guy zip lining to the second floor, grabs a few watches and heirlooms, but accidentally triggers an alarm, and it's like a toy. But then the guy starts running and jumps off the house, and then you just see the other player running with like a couch and throws it into the truck, and they drive off.
I need this.
Yes, it is the
Honestly,
best.
it really looks good. It's like
Right?
like Thief had a baby with Left 4 Dead. Like you're playing with, I guess it's multiplayer.
Yes.
Those aren't bots, are they? I'm trying to figure out from
It's
the trailer.
multiplayer. It's 100% multiplayer,
Awesome.
and the cool part, you said it. I was thinking of a game called Moving Out, where it's like a physics-based multiplayer.
I love that game.
Oh.
It's so chaotic.
Yes,
I love it.
I hated that game for its physics, but
Yes.
I
Well, this
like
one-
couch co-op games. Yeah.
This one definitely looks like it has physics, because you can kind of see the character. Like, I don't know if he's like stealing like a chair or a table, but you can kind of see the wobble
Wiggling.
physics of him holding the table over his head. So you can definitely tell that this is going to probably require like feats of 2 or 3 people like grabbing giant things to steal it stealthily. The content creators are going to love it. That's the reason I mentioned it. And
FReality Podcast episode, or not podcast, like a game episode. They're just stealing
We
stuff.
absolutely
awesome.
should. Yeah, we
stealing
absolutely
things.
Yeah.
should. Why
All
not?
right.
Yeah.
So the reason I brought in, those are the 3 games that I have for releases. Sorry, 4. Synapse releases July 4th. 4 VR Cornhole, that's gone free to play. Battle Bowls releases July 13th, and The Break-In releases July 17th. And real quick, it's a Steam summer sales going off. Zim, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about it before I run down the list.
I mean, just it's a lot of very good deals
Yes.
on Steam VR games. There's a bunch of regulars that I would recommend people go towards. Things like, Skyrim, Assetto Corsa, Dirt Rally, just the things that I kind of love and have put so many hours into it. When you get that stuff for a couple bucks, it's hard to say no. Hard to say no.
Yeah, so I made a quick list for you guys. I'm going to kind of like spit fire for you guys. I'm not going to go straight into detail. These are probably well-known VR games that make me happy. So this is my list. So here we go. The Demio, everybody knows Demio. The bundle is 40% off, $23.99. That's about 18 pounds. And this is all in the Steam VR store. Walkabout Mini Golf VR is 50% off. That's about $7.49. That's roughly about 6 pounds. The Vertigo franchise bundle, that means all the Vertigo games, that's about $34.70, 27 pounds. That pretty much includes the soundtracks, Vertigo 2, and the remastered version of Vertigo.
Jeez,
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal. Next up, I have Ghost of Tabor. Their starter pack bundle is 20% off. That's about $28.12, 22 pounds. The Zenith MMO is 30% off, $20.99. It's about 16 pounds. Microsoft Flight Simulator, the 40th
I saw
anniversary.
this.
This is a big one, 35% off. That's about $38.99. That's 30 pounds. If you want to get your fly on, definitely recommend.
so tempted on that because it's like, you know, and now's the right time because they've done their VR optimizations and all that. But I just looked at it and I was like, I don't have the time for this. I got to wait another year, wait until it drops to like $8 or something.
It's so worth the price though, especially if you want to see the best of VR. It's every single game here is PCVR. I'm bullish on PCVR, so I'm sure there's other ways to play these games, but I really feel like these games really show off what you can do with PCVR. Up next, Ragnarok is 60% off. That's $9.99. Yes, about
$10. Just $10.
Wow. $10. Yep. Arcedo Corsa, it's 80% off. That's about $3.99. £3. So it's a really good sale. I'm just spitfire here. Half-Life Alyx 60% off, $23.99. That's about £18. Yep.
Nice.
And my personal favorite, this one, if I force you guys to buy one, everybody listening, buy this one. Tetris Effect Connected, 50% off, $19.99, £14. If you like Tetris, play it in VR. It is a magnificent experience. It is actually if you're really, you know, a lot of people like to brag about inputs. The game plays better on VR than on 2D because the inputs are much faster and low latency. It's really cool to kind of see that in action. So definitely recommend that one. After the Fall, $14.99. That's 50% off. It's about £11. Everybody knows After the Fall. Five Nights at Freddy's, Help Wanted. If you're into getting yourself scared, it's $14.99. That's 75% off. That's about £11.
If you need help, yeah.
If you need help, Help Wanted to get scared, $14.99 is the price, and that's all the games I have for you guys.
Holy cow!
Yeah, we got some.
It's a big
That's
sale.
the problem. This sale, there was a lot. Oh, Crash said Subnautica for £8. So that's about $10. Yeah, the trouble is. When there's a big sale like this and it's hot, like it's summertime, people are like, no, I don't want to get in my headset right now. But like squirrels, you got to gather nuts for the winter.
Exactly.
Yes.
You got to gather your nuts for the winter. You got to empty that wallet and buy some VR games. And that way you'll make it through Christmas, right? When we don't get what we want for Christmas.
And Demio too, like, right? There's a lot of these games that you can, for the cost or almost the price of what the full game, you can actually get another copy. For like Demio is actually only near 50% off, right? So if you can buy, you can actually with the price originally of one, you can buy 2 copies so you can play with a friend, right? Same goes with a few of these games that are multiplayer. Definitely recommend them.
Some of them have like flat screen versions now. Like Ragnarok now's got a flat screen version. You know, then there's a Demio, of course.
Awesome.
So if you don't want to play it in VR, just play it on the sad version.
Yeah, but Tetris is like that as well. Although I would say that Tetris is one of those games, unlike a lot of VR stuff, even on a day where I'm flattened from work or something, I come home, Tetris is like, wow, I can just chill out with that for like half an hour, and you just like zone out. It's like next to, I know I talked about Sound Self, but Tetris is the next best thing. It's like you just get into the rhythm of the music and the way it kind of ebbs and flows. It's a fantastic version of Tetris that you have to experience.
The first song, I tell people all the time, is to just play the first song in the journey. It immediately tells you what the game is all about. It is beautiful. And I am biased. I know one of the particle physics artists, but it kind of makes me love it even more because I know the people that kind of care about this kind of stuff, and definitely the best version of Tetris that exists by far.
Oh, my. Well, that was a good run. Thanks for covering that in releases. Appreciate it. People getting their value out, saving money up. So now that we're done with that, this is it, chat. If you want to say anything to us, let us know while I wind up the show times. Then we can let you get back to your lives. So as a fortnightly cast, this podcast runs every other Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. The show starts live at 10 a.m. Pacific, and if we're alive by the end, that's great. Also, 1 p.m. Eastern for people who live in places like me, or 6 p.m. in the UK if you're over there under the Queen's thumb. Oh, actually, not any longer. Oops. That wasn't scripted. That was a mistake. We have audio as well, and that's out on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify to feather dust your eardrums on those long journeys. Thumbs up on the podcast if you enjoyed it, and if not, well, Adam's going to take on yet another responsibility. Surprise! You get to run our complaints department. But be warned, she bites.
I do. This is true.
Well, Adam, thank you very much for running the show today. Appreciate it. It seems to have sailed smoothly. If you'd like to fuck it up, just wait for the last 2 minutes, and then we can do it then. But that's the end of this week's show. Then, thanks everyone for joining us, guys. Anything left to get off your chest before we wrap?
Beanbag toss is what we called it, not cornhole. I couldn't think of the
toss.
name, but it was beanbag toss. Thank you, chat. I haven't been able to pay much attention in chat because I've been just kind of like looking at different monitors and panicking slightly, but I just wanted to throw out a thanks for that because I forgot the name and it bothered me for a little while.
Thank you. That's
Very
what we
important
knew
stuff.
it as in Ohio too. It is. Chat always got your back. All right. Until next time, everyone. That's been another FReality podcast. Thanks. Goodbye.